pleasant day, everyone. To begin with, may I request once again to have a moment of silence and pray for the frontliners during this time of pandemic. Thank you so much, everyone. Once again, I'm Mrs. Tracy M. Salcedo, your teacher in 21st century literature from the Philippines and the world. We are now on our module 2, and our topic is all about the 21st century literature genre. So, to start with, let us define first what is the 21st century literature. So, it is the literary works created within the last decade. Imaginative, or the product of imaginative thinking of a writer, deals with the current themes such as the modernization and reflects technological culture, often breaks the traditional writings. If you can notice, this type of writings have a huge difference between the traditional way of writing. And lastly, traces artistic representation of shared and familiar experiences. Okay? So when we are talking about the 21st century literature, it is already the evolution of the traditional literature. So it means that we are now in a modern way, which includes the ICT, okay? Includes the internet, the computer, and other modern things. Okay? These are the literary genres in 21st century. The first one is creative nonfiction, followed by the hyperpoetry, mobile text to the chick literature, speculative fiction, flash fiction, blog, graphic novels, Digi Fiction, Manga, and fiction. Let us start first with the nonfiction, or creative nonfiction. But before that, let us have this recap about the definition of fiction and nonfiction. Okay? Let us distinguish the fiction from nonfiction. Let's try. So tell me whether it is fiction or nonfiction. Okay? So Hunger Games, fiction or nonfiction? Harry Potter, fiction or non-fiction? The Avengers, fiction or non-fiction? The Batman, fiction or non-fiction? And lastly, Twilight, fiction or non-fiction? Alright, so everything that I've mentioned before are under fiction. Why? When we are talking about fiction, it is just the creative or imaginative thinking of a writer. It is based on the imagination of the writer itself. Okay? But when we are talking about the non-fiction, it is based on reality. May basis siya. Based on true story on a true happening, on an event, unlike the fiction that it is just an imagination. So let us discuss now what is creative nonfiction. Creative nonfiction, it is a rich mix of flavors, ideas, techniques, and some of which are newly invented and others as old as writing itself. Creative nonfiction can be an essay, a journal, article, research paper, a memoir, a poem, or can be personal or not. Okay? So, most likely, creative nonfiction is based on reality, based on true story, but somehow they gave a flavor on it. Okay? Just like this example. Imagination, science fiction. All of those written in this book was based on reality. Yet they just tried to mix flavor on that book to make it creative. Next is the hyperpoetry. So obviously by the usage of internet. A new genre of literature that uses the computer screen as medium rather than the printed page. The literary works rely on qualities unique to the digital environment. So obviously we have here hyperlink or hypertext, wherein we can see this type of literary or literature on the computer screen. Hindi na natin siya makikita sa mga books, hindi natin siya makikita dun sa mga printed materials, but we can see it or we can able to see it on the monitor or sa internet. Next, mobile phone text to that. Okay? A literary work originally written on a cellular phone via text message. Chapter usually consists of 70 to 100 words, each due to character limitations of cell phone. Actually, during the time this was invented, meron kasing limit lang yung space ng cellphone pag nagta-type. Kasi dati, meron kami pag mag-forward na mga quotations, may limit lang yung mismong space ng cellphone or ng message. Tapos, i-group message namin sa lahat. Uso pa yung anti nun. But today, since it is modernized already, mas nag-evolve palalo yung cellular natin, pwede na tayo mag-compose ng sobrang haba. Later on, I'll be asking you to do or to make one mobile text to that. Next is a chick literature. It's genre fiction which addresses issues of modern womanhood, often humorous and light-heartedly. Chick, it typically features a female protagonist whose womanhood is heavily thermalized in the plot. So, since it is a chick literature, it is all about feminism. Okay? It is all about a female or a female character. So obviously, that is called chick literature. Next is a speculative fiction. Speculative fiction is an umbrella genre encompassing fiction with certain elements that do not exist in the real world, often in the context of supernatural, futuristic, and other imaginative themes. So, medyo out of this world. So, an example is the World War Z, which features zombie apocalypse. This one is the future of humanity. Para kasing na imagine ng the writer itself kung ano ba yung possible na mangyari in the future. Okay? So, speculative fiction is speculating what would happen in the future. Parang naisip nila, maybe in the future, ganito yung magiging itsura natin. Meron tayong mga certain movies na napanood ko na din na somehow pasok dito sa speculative fiction. Ano nga yung tawag din yung kay Jennifer Lawrence, yung pupunta sila sa Mars to save humanity. But instead of saving the humanity, sila na lang palang dalawa yung natira dun sa mismong spaceship. Okay? So, parang iniisip na ni writer itself kung possible kaya yun na ma-save yung humanity na hindi lang dito sa Earth makakatira yung tao. Alright? Next is a flash fiction. A flash fiction goes by many names, including microfiction, microstory, short stories, very short stories, and sudden fiction, postcard fiction, and nanofiction. So obviously, it is a short story kasi it is a short story or micro story. Flash fiction is a fictional work of extreme brevity that still offers character and plot development. So, kung makita niyo siya, na, sa isang tingin mo lang sa kanya, nandun na lahat yung story. That is flash fiction. Isang flash lang, nandun na yung introduction, yung rising action, yung climax, falling action, and the resolution. So let us have this example. The title is Lighthouse. The young ship captain sees no lighthouse. Rescue still far away. The cormorant, his only savior in the mighty dark sea. He pauses when it stops and moves when it takes off. Its white-head plumage, his shining star. In the gloomy night, all 50 human lives in the ship cleaning the sea wave. If you can notice, there is a flow of a story already. Kahit na very short story lang siya, ay tapos na. Tapos agad yung story. Next is blog. Blog is an online journal or information website displaying information in the reverse chronological order with latest posts appearing first. It is a platform where a writer or even a group of writers share their views on an individual subject. I know that you're not that familiar in blog kasi doon na kayo mas familiar sa vlogs. So, yung vlog lang naman, para lang tayo nag-search. Like, for example, in Google, no? Nag-search ka ng how to, my head is aching. What will I do? And tinaype mo kay Google. Tapos, may mga websites na lilitaw doon. Diba? Tapos, advise ka anong pwedeng gawin, ano ba yung reason. That is what we call a blog. Ano nga ba yung mas modern sa blog? We have what we call a video blog. So, meaning, informational din, nagbibigay din ng information sa mga audience niya, itong blog na to. Pero, in a video form, no? Nakikita ng tao. That is video blog or vlog. Next, graphic novels. Narrative work in which the story is conveyed to the reader using comic form. The term is employed in broad manner, encompassing non-fiction works and thematically linked short story as well as fictional story across a number of genre. Like for example, this one. There are several series of Spider-Man. Kung titignan mo, it is written in a comic form. May conversation. Tsaka, may drawing. Next is a Digi Fiction. Sorry about that. Balik lang natin, no? If you are familiar with the W, yung Korean series, it is like a graphic novel, no? Webtoon. Yung tawag doon. Next is Digi Fiction. Triple media literature combines three media such as book, movie, video, and internet website. In order to get full story, students must engage in navigation, reading, views, and all the three formats. As you can see, Nakalagay dito, upper elementary and middle school Digi Fiction, you must read the book and then comes with 6 clue. Para siyang continuous learning dapat, continuous dapat siya pag binasa mo siyang lahat. So next is visit the website. So meaning may additional information pa doon, as well as play the game. Next is the manga. Ayan. Sinong mahilig sa manga dito? Hindi po yung manga na kinakain, but the manga from Japan na anime. Most likely, parang ganun yung interpretation nila sa manga, anime. But anime and manga are different from each other. So what is manga? Manga is a Japanese word for comics. Okay, so clear na tayo dyan. Pag sinabi natin manga, it is a comic book. Okay? Pero the anime itself, the manga is the basis of the anime itself. Okay, gets na po? It is used in English speaking word as a generic term for all comic books and graphic novels originally published in Japan, considered as an artistic and storytelling style. Sino mahilig dito sa manga? Yung mga manga fans dito, they know the difference or kung ano ba yung difference ng story from the manga compared to the anime itself. Kasi pag babasahin mo siya sa manga, full of details. Tapos pag sinali na siya into anime, parang nabawasan siya. Okay? Next is the Doodle Fiction. Ayan. Yung concrete example natin dito is the Diary of a Wimpy Kid. Kung familiar kayo. Literary presentation where the author incorporates doodle writing and drawings and handwritten graphics in place of traditional font. Drawing enhanced the story, often adding humorous elements that would be missing if the illustration were omitted. Okay, so unlike the traditional literature or literary books, diba? Para siyang typewritten lang. Dito sa Doodle Fiction, it is written in a doodle form. Same as dun sa drawing niya, it is doodle drawing. So, makita niyo naman yung example natin. So, obviously, ibang-iba yung font or yung written or yung handwritten graphics niya, as well as the drawing itself. Okay, we're done with the types or genre of 21st century literature. Next, we have elements of an essay in Philippine literature. So what is an essay? An essay is a piece of composition that discusses a thing, a person, a problem, or an issue in a way that the writer demonstrates his knowledge by offering a new perspective and a new opinion, a new solution, or a suggestion or recommendation. It is well-organized composition comprising several elements that work to build an argument, describe a situation, narrate an event, or state a problem with a solution. So obviously when we are trying to write an essay, it should be chronological, in order, so that the readers will understand. Sige, we have here different types of essay. Para lang hindi kayo masyadong malito dun sa mismong definition. So these are the elements of an essay in Philippine literature. The first one is the description. So from the word describe, description, describing. Okay? It is an account of a person, object, or event that enables the reader to get a clear picture of what is being described. Like for example, my essay is all about my father. I will describe my father physically. I will describe my father's attitude. I will describe how my father is a father to me. Okay? That is description or descriptive essay. pwede ko siyang gawing narrative or narration kapag yung story ko about my father, instead na dinescribe ko siya physically, dinescribe ko siya kung ano itsura niya, kung paano siya maging father, i-describe ko siya by telling our story. Our story of father and a daughter. Our story of father and a daughter. That is narration. Narration is an act of telling the story. Next is anecdotes. When we're talking about anecdotes, short story based on true accounts. Okay, like for example, MMK. Ayan. Can we consider maalaala mo kaya or magpakailanman as anecdotes? The answer is yes. It is based on true accounts. Okay? But the time limit of the show is only 1 hour. So, ibig sabihin, limited lang. A short story lang siya. Pinagkasya lang siya sa 1 hour. But it is based on true accounts. And lastly is the characteristics. The mental and moral qualities that make someone distinctive. Okay, so self-explanatory na lang to. You are describing the character of a person. Okay, so next is dialogue. Okay, when we are trying to write an essay with a dialogue, it is conversational. Like for example, our story of my father and I. So there is this certain conversation that would be written on that essay. For example, and I said, was, Papa, kamusta ka na? Okay? And then, father respond, okay lang anak, kamusta ka na? That is an example of dialogue. Conversations found in written works such as books, plays, or films. Lastly is the insight, the capacity to gain a deep understanding about something. For example, me as a teacher, I ask you to read a certain novel. And then I ask you, class, can you give me the insight about the book we have read? You will be giving me your deep understanding about that book. That is an insight. Alright, so that would be the end of our module 2. Hope this will help you answer all your activities on your module. That's it for today. Thank you, everyone, and God bless.